if you watch the video, it like
Yeah. Whatever. All right. Well, it's a special day. We have officially joined Empire Sports Media, which is a fantastic site. You guys should go check it out. But this is Mets Weekly. Mets Weekly side. We are joined by TonyMetro, and we are joined by Andrew Acevedo. This is the first time I get to say this, so welcome to Mets Weekly, presented by Empire Sports Media.
On 3-2, Vader swings and misses, strike three. He struck him out. 5 Met pitchers combined for the second no-hitter in New York Mets history.
All right.
I'm trying to figure out who put that intro video together because there was a lot of Edwin Diaz in there.
It wasn't me. I swear it was not me. I promise you it was not me. I'll let these guys, say whatever they got coming up next or whatever. But Andrew, you can say whatever you need to say.
Yeah, I'm just a rhino. I do my rhino daily, just Giselling around the world. Obviously, we've been doing some content early on last couple days, and the video coming out tomorrow. Probably do a post game for one of these Angels game. Maybe I'll do like a 2 a.m. post game, depending. No, I will be in Tulsa this weekend, so I will not be doing that. So probably sometime once they get home, back to post games, probably planned out next week. Besides that, just doing the videos here and streams if any breaking news comes here.
Yeah. Tony, you can introduce yourself to the...
Yeah, well, really excited to be working in conjunction with Empire Sports Media now. You guys should all go check out the website for all of your New York sports, Mets, Jets, Knicks, Yankees, Giants, all of them. But we, of course, are going to be focusing on all of the Mets stuff. So what I've really been doing lately is writing articles about the Mets, and pretty soon going to be rolling out a podcast with a couple other hosts. So check out the site. Continue watching Mets Weekly here on YouTube. It will also be featured on the Empire Sports Media Mets tab. And really excited.
All right. Well, if you guys haven't guessed already, we're just going to talk about some news stuff and, just a little bit of a let's say recap the entire week of Mets news. Now, we do have some videos that are going out every day. We're actually just finishing up one right now that's going to go out tomorrow. We did one about Trevor Rosenthal yesterday. If you want to add something, Tony, about Trevor Rosenthal, you can if you'd like to.
Without looking at any of his most recent stats from last season or anything, so just a completely uneducated guess here.
He didn't pitch at all last season. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously he's got a little bit of a track record, but having been removed a year from the game, he's no sure thing. That being said, obviously the Mets should take a look at him. We've gotten nice contributions from Nogasek, obviously not yesterday, but before that, as well as Holderman, Medina, but how much can we really truly count on these guys? I don't know. Is Trevor May going to come back? If he does, will he be the good Trevor May or the really bad Trevor May? You can never have too much pitching. So obviously, I think it's a good idea to take a look at Trevor Rosenthal.
Yeah, I think like what we said was just stockpiling guys. If you guys haven't seen that video yet, it was posted at about 1 in the afternoon today. Yep. But other than that, I mean, we've just talked about like stockpiling guys. I mean, and we've also talked about how like this bullpen could look a lot different next year with a lot of these guys being free agents and a lot of these guys being probably not going to be re-signing here since the reliever market is so different. And then speaking of pitching, I think we can just go ahead and what's going on with Syndergaard, huh? I mean, Phil Nevin, he said, hey, we're going to give him some extra rest, but is he ducking us?
Kind of seems like it.
I'll let
Go ahead. No, Andrew.
No, go crazy. I know you want to go off. I'm not as crazy as you two are, so I'll sit back here.
Well, this is interesting to me because I'm going to the Angels-Mets game on Saturday. So would have loved to have seen Syndergaard. I don't know if he even would have matched up on that day, but kind of feels like he might be ducking us a little bit. He obviously had a really rough start in Yankee Stadium his last time out. I believe that was his last start. So I don't know, but what I will tell you is just in general about the Angels, I'm a little worried that they did not snap the losing streak prior to us coming to town, Like 14's pretty big. I mean, can it really grow to 17? I don't know. I'm just hoping we take 2 out of 3 at the very least.
Yeah, that is kind of concerning, especially, since have seen a few of our bats out of the lineup for a majority of a game and then the entire game last night. Pete Alonso and Starling Marte. I mean, big pieces to this lineup who both went down, but they have avoided the IL. I think last night it's kind of just been really expressed like heavily that this is how important Pete Alonso is to this lineup. And we've also talked about Starling Marte as well, what he brings to the table. It's kind of hard to replace that because he's definitely a very versatile player. But Pete Alonso, that main source of power out of the lineup, your next power source, Eduardo Escobar, who hasn't really been hitting the ball out of the ballpark that much. And you also have JD Davis. Yay. So Pete Alonso is a huge piece to this lineup, and it really showed last night. I mean, that's pretty much stating the obvious at this point. But, I think, they just have to get healthy. And, we've also, we'll get into a lot of these things during the stream. Probably going to go around an hour, hour and a half. But other than that, anything that we can talk about, like main takeaways from how they've been playing recently. I know, Tony, you have not been on live for a while, so you probably have a lot bottled up. You can go ahead and
Yeah, I would say up until these last 2 games with the Padres, mostly positive. They obviously were playing extremely well, back-to-back sweeps of the Phillies and then the Nationals. Took care of business against the Nats. Obviously, it's what you have to do against the bad teams. To go out and lose the first 2 games to the Dodgers and then come back and win the next 2 was awesome. Didn't really truly love the way we won Sunday versus the Dodgers because, I mean, we obviously saw Lugo have his meltdown and then us failed to score additional runs in that top of the 10th inning. But regardless, the positive I took from it, Adonis Medina, balls of steel. That was pretty awesome to see. Let's hope that carries out and, helps him in the future. And then just the great game on Monday against San Diego. Good outing from Carlos Carrasco, as Theo just said in the chat. And then, of course, just adding on runs in the cycle from Eduardo Escobar. Last 2 games were tough. I really, truly had that pit in my stomach when Pete and Marte left, and I think the rest of the team did as well. I think it just completely changed the entire outlook of that game. I think the wind came out of the sails, even for the players. And, we all say, oh, they're professionals. They shake that stuff off. It's tough. It's tough, especially, think about the position that Mark Canha and JD Davis were put in. They were expecting to have off days that day. All of a sudden, they're thrust into action. It's tough to change your mindset like that. And obviously, the real big factor is just missing 2 of the best bats in our lineup. And I think it carried over to yesterday as well. Last thing, Chris Bassitt's got me a little concerned. Chris Bassitt's really not been great in, I'd say, 3 of his last 4 starts. He had a good outing against the Phillies last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, and really has struggled in his other 3 starts. It's circled around that one. So, got to get our boys back, Scherzer, McGill, and DeGrom, so that Bassitt doesn't have to feel like he's got to be that ace of this rotation.
That was something that was pointed out, that when Scherzer went down, Bassitt has kind of, I guess, taken a huge load and a kind of a dip down. I'm not completely concerned overall, shut up. I'm not
I'm going to say
completely
it. I'm going to let you talk. But then yeah.
about Bassitt because I've seen him pitch for so long with Oakland, and I know that he's had these tough outings before. He's had like these tough 2 to 3 stretches, and then he's bounced back pretty well. I mean, I think I'd say that he's still getting those same peripheral results, but the ball's kind of flying out of him there. He's kind of leaving the ball over the plate a little too much, and it happens. He's not DeGrom, he's not Scherzer. So, that's something that we've also saw last year with DeGrom going down as well. Kind of the toll that it took to Stroman and Walker. They were good enough, but they weren't enough to carry this team completely to the promised land. Obviously, the hitting was horrible last year, but that's besides the point right now. But like, it's kind of just one of those things that it's one of those rough stretches, and you hope that he can get out of it. And there could be some kind of refresh that he does there. I know that Bassitt is one of those guys who can make really great adjustments, and he's made a few mistakes, and they've cost to a lot of runs, and that's something that kind of makes it a little bit promising that he can perfect something and get something better. But I think it's probably the pressure of losing Jake and Max, because everybody knew they were going to be at the number that was going to be your number 1 and number 2, and now it's not. Other than that, Carlos Carrasco has looked fantastic. He's looked like that number 3 that we brought in last year to be that number 3 behind DeGrom and Stroman. Stroman's gone, built different back in Chicago. But other than that, he has looked fantastic. I think he's kind of started to ease off of that fastball a little bit and kind of work with the slider and work with that changeup. Changeup has been insane for him. I just love the confidence. He's such an easy guy to root for, and that's the thing. He's really been on a roll recently. Other than that, with the pitching, Andrew, you can add whatever the hell you want to add and troll me or whatever. Go ahead.
God, don't you wish sometimes in lives you just had a phone you could record moments? Because like we do most nights, we had this conversation yesterday, and a certain thing was said, which Pat Ragazzo made a great tweet today that confirmed it. It's almost like James McCann matters, ladies and gentlemen. We don't care he's making $10 million, but improved frame rate. But look at the statistical numbers. Look at Chris Bassitt when he's been caught by James McCann compared to be caught by Tomas Nido and Patrick Mazeika. So James McCann, I do miss you, and please, and he's getting back too pretty soon, maybe the next couple weeks. We get the McCann back with potentially Scherzer. But yeah, Carrasco's been elite, has been great. Again, like you said, the guy we thought we would get it from Cleveland. Obviously, Bassitt's not been great. Obviously, and this is the West Coast trip, so you would think him being in Oakland, he'd be more comfortable on the West Coast, going back facing San Diego and LA. That has not fared well for him. Taijuan Walker is Taijuan Walker. David Peterson is again what he is, and then Trevor Williams had a great start against the Dodgers. Again, gave up the one hanging curveball to Trey Turner, but then still be able to get 5 productive innings after that. That's productive. In obviously Tylor McGill back tomorrow, so you had him obviously Williams and him making McGill making a rehab in Binghamton while Williams was pitching in LA. Now we're getting McGill back. He's the first guy back. Scherzer looks to be closer than Jake, you would think, because he's already going on a rehab next week potentially. And then Jake after Max. I think I'm putting money now that Max will be back first. But we're getting healthy. Obviously, the offensive injury scares, obviously with them not being out more than hopefully a couple games, maybe a week at most, but maybe hopefully back this week in both of them. And not having a broken hand with Alonso and a torn hamstring or a pulled, whatever with Marte. The injury luck is actually favoring the Mets, which is kind of crazy to say that they're getting.
Shut up. Stop it.
I just knocked on wood.
Stop it.
Hey, last week's JD Davis threat didn't happen. It just went to Marte. Sorry. But, again, we've been knock on, we've been blessed with some uninjured scares. We're getting healthier. We'll see again. This series isn't as scary as we thought a couple weeks ago. Trout's hurt. They're struggling. They have a TBD on Friday, which Mets and TBD, and a lefty on Sunday against Taiwan Walker. So great. Tony, you get Carrasco and Lorenzen on Saturday, so you do get at least a decent matchup. But the Mets still have the advantage. So if they can take 2 out of 3, I'm not going for a sweep. Get back to winning a series, and then come home, face Milwaukee, who Philadelphia just wiped the floor with.
They better. I swear, if the Brewers don't just lay down for us, I will curse that franchise for the rest of time. I mean, how do you get swept by the Phillies? And was it a 4-game series, right?
4-game set. 4-game set.
I wish nothing but ill on the Milwaukee Brewers franchise. I hate them. Can't believe that. Come on.
Yeah. No Thor. He's ducking us. He's absolutely ducking us. He said, "Nope, I'm out of here." Twitter trolls got to his head. Maybe he's the fake tough guy. I don't know. Like which one out of let's say, okay, off topic here, but out of that 2015, we won't talk about Matt Harvey because we all know the whole situation that goes down with him. Steven Matz, let's see, Zach Wheeler, Jacob deGrom. You have Noah Syndergaard, Bartolo Colon. Out of all those guys, who would you say is the most fake tough guy? Go ahead.
I mean, I really think Noah Syndergaard is the only guy that perpetrates himself as one.
Yeah.
Was
he
the guy? Is it Steven Matz who's the fake tough guy?
I don't think he tries to be.
He's fragile. We all know he's
fragile.
Steven Matz is fragile. That's a perfect way to put it, Andrew. Like Bartolo Colon's laying on a beach, like drinking pina coladas off his belly. Like, come on. Like, Noah Syndergaard. I've not been a Syndergaard fan since probably 2018. Like, I've always thought he was, this whole act got very old with me very early, and it's now finally Mets fans are coming around to it. So, like, this is no surprise to me. Like, this is who he is. Oh, join my book club. Oh, yeah, join my, like, why don't you focus on pitching, dog? Like, come on, you're a clown.
I mean, this is true. Like, this is true that Burns, they had Burns, but Woodruff, Peralta's hurt, but they still have Lauer, and
Burns has been up and down. Woodruff has been up and down.
Burns has been up and down. That as well.
Stroman is fake tough.
I think it's tough by the Phillies. Like,
is Stroman tall enough to be tough?
No, I don't think he can ride the rides at Disneyland. So I don't think he can be tough if he can't ride the ride.
Is that why you didn't go to the Angels?
That's what probably he wanted to go to Chicago. There's no theme park in Chicago. Only
possible. I just view the catcher as the new pitcher hitting in the lineup. It's possible. It's even worse now because Patrick Mazeika is
a person.
Patrick Mazeika.
Hey, but Tomas Nido low-key has been hitting a little bit.
He has been hitting a little
Tomas
bit.
Nido's been, kind of getting the job done here and there. So I got to give him credit.
Yeah, he has been hitting, and he is an elite defensive player. So I don't know. But he's still the backup catcher, and he's trying to play the starting catcher right now. And if that catcher that we signed for $40 million would get off his ass and stop breaking his hand jerking off, then we might actually, get some production from that position. But Patrick Mazeika, there's no real reason for him to be here. I think Nick Mayer should get a shot. I think Nick Dini should get a shot. He's on the taxi squad right now. Nick Dini, amazing framer, by the way. For those who love framing, amazing framer. But other than that, I don't see a reason why Patrick Mazeika still needs to be here. But, I mean, he's probably caught some of these guys in AAA, so maybe the chemistry is there. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
This is what I told you in my tweet. I never want to see Patrick Mazeika in a major league game.
You need to do it again so he homers.
It only works. See, the Tony Jinx only works once, so I can't do that again.
Sure?
I'll have to go back and check the book, but I'm pretty sure it only works once. So, I'm sorry. I can't do that. It will mess up all the other Tony Jinxes if I don't. So,
Okay.
It's still not as deadly as the passing Jinx, though.
Passing. Or the Bob. Don't forget the
or
Bob.
the Bob Jank. That's the king of the Janks. But
One of our first ever streams that we've done together. I'm pretty sure that was Bob
Bauer.
saying Trevor Bauer. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
yeah, I was in the chat. Yeah, I was in the chat.
So we got a pretty tough schedule coming up. We got these 3 with the Angels, which I'm sorry, I don't see the Angels losing 17 straight games, although I didn't think they'd get to 14 either. So maybe, but I'm just hoping we get 2 out of 3 from them. Then we go home. We got Milwaukee. We got 4 with Miami, 2 with Houston, and then 3 more with Miami. We know the Marlins are always a huge thorn in the Mets side. We obviously know how good Houston is, and the Brewers are much better than how they just played in this 4-game set with the Phillies. So taking a look at those games, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15 games that I just listed. What is a satisfactory record for you guys over this stretch?
8-7.
10 or 15. 10 to 15 games.
8-7. I'm fine going about. Again, by that time, maybe Max is back in 15. Oh, maybe not 15 games. Maybe not that. But you'll be at the brink of Max would be back in a week or 2, let's say, a month from now. Max will be back. Jake, again, is the question mark. When is Jake? If Jake even does come back. So if you go 8-7 through that's my thing was going through the month of June at 500. If you go out 15-15, 16-14, something like that, I'll be okay. And then get through this hell stretch. And then we get back to playing some of the lesser echelon teams in July and August. So if you go 500, game over, I would love a game under, but around the 500 mark, I'm fine. And then get healthy again with Marte. And the difference is you look at those teams, you've got through the Dodgers, you've gotten through San Diego. Really, besides Houston in this stretch, I'm terrified of. We can match up with the Brewers, especially they're injured to shit. Miami's got the pitching, but they always give us fits, but we can match up to them. So it's really, we've gotten through the holy shit, this is going to suck part of the schedule. And now we're getting, especially now Trout's hurt, we're not facing Ohtani on the mound. So you're going through this with the Angels and then the Brewers, like, okay, they're solid teams, but we can match up with them. So I think we're past the Dodgers and that. So I think we're fine. If we go 8-7, 9-6, I'd be fine.
I'd say the only thing I'm satisfied with is 15-0. But like, if you're being realistic, I just say win every series, or at least win a majority of those series. We said how many series are in that 15-game stretch? So like 5 or 6, right? So win 4 of 6 of those series, win 5 of 6 of those series, or win all of them like we were doing the beginning of the season. But it's going to be a 1 game at a time process because you don't have your top arms there still. Again, like I think it's already been established that this team with a fully healthy lineup, minus James McCann, because he is such a huge impact offensively. He is fantastic.
Yes, sir. High ground
with a team, I think it's been established already that you can hold down the fort until Jack DeGrom, guys. New pitcher. Jake and DeGrom are back. Jake and DeGrom. You know what? I'll pass it on to you. Go ahead.
Well, I think this, a lot of Mets fans are freaking out about the final 2 games here with the Padres, but this was the conclusion of 13 games in 13 days. I mean, this was 13 consecutive days of playing, including coming off of a West Coast trip and then going back to the West Coast for this most recent series that we've had with the Dodgers, Padres, and now the Angels upcoming. So
horribly scheduled, by the way.
Horrible. There's no reason you should be making 2 West Coast trips within 2 weeks of each other the way they did. I'm looking at their schedule. I don't think they actually have to go back out to the West Coast, which is beautiful. I don't see that. No, I don't think they do. So that's great news. But, looking at this June schedule, we were all afraid, the June swoon. Well, we were scheduled to play 25 games. Of those 25 games, the only under 500 team was the Marlins for 7. So we're right now, let's see, including one with the Nationals. Right now we are 4-4 through June. Yeah. So what's for you? I mean, kind of the same question of that as that streak, but with 25 games, what would you say is a comfortable record for you as the schedule then eases up in July?
Again, I'm fine at 500. Give me 13 and 12. It'd be great to do 15 and 10. I'd love that. Again, the only, like I've seen somebody say in the chat, I said that Houston is the scariest of the upcoming.
Yeah.
They are the only team that I'm like, okay, they're a legit championship contender. The Brewers, flawed and injured right now. Marlins, yes, they give us pain in the ass and they have good pitching, but can be played. We should be able to beat on paper because we have played better against lower teams below us. We have beaten on them, so that they are better. We are better than them. The Brewers again. I think don't they come here and then we go to Milwaukee in the end of this month or no? I know we go to Houston. I know Houston and they come to us. Then we go to
yeah. So it's. Miami comes to us for 4. We go to Houston for 2. We go to Miami for 3, and then Houston comes back to Citi Field for 2. So that's how we finish out June.
Yeah. You say Texas and Cincinnati to start off July. That's going to be frightening.
Wow, I see. Right, it's a beautiful start to the July, right before the All-Star break too. But yeah, again, give me of the 25 games, if they go 15 and 10. And it'd be nice to say, hey, can we stop playing the best teams? It was kind of the opposite because the Braves and Phillies have had this where they've been playing the Dodgers and all of us. And now we were playing the Reds. No, we haven't played the Reds yet, but like we've beaten on the Nationals and stuff. Now, of course, when we're going to LA and San Diego and this trip, the Braves and the A's and the Reds, and now the Phillies are, pulling shit out of their ass against Milwaukee. So give me 15 and 10 in the next 25. I will be happy. Just keep, 6 to 7 games. I would like to go into the All-Star break with that 5 to 7, or hell, I would love 10 game lead going into the break. But give me a comfortable lead in the All-Star break, and I'll be happy. That's where at least I am. Obviously, more wins the better, of course. But if you're looking at this reasonably, 15 and
10. Yeah, I think 15 wins is probably like the highest you can possibly get. With this 25 game month, we've gotten 4 already. I'd say it's just trying to dodge every obstacle that's come so far. And I think we've done it fairly well. Again, knocking on wood with this one, but we started off June with Francisco Lindor slamming his hand into a door. You had Max, you get bit by his dog. Lindor comes back. Pretty sure he homered
Drew Smith's
on his
finger.
Second game back.
A lot of finger banging with
we
the
dodged. We dodged Alonso and Marte going to the IL. So we've gotten, non-Mets luck in June so far. So it's just going to be a one day at a time. And listen, if we talk about this team is known for grinding out at bats, just grind out these games. Like that's literally it. And then you're home free to the All-Star break. Jake and Max come back, sun shines and rainbows, and you win the World Series. That's it.
Well, we signed Aaron scored, so we got the luck. We got the lucky charm Tan score.
Typical Mets outlook of once they get back, everything will be okay.
Yeah.
And then but hopefully that is the case. Looking at this pragmatically, and then we can move on to another topic. But these last whatever games we have left, I don't know, what is it, 20 almost? No, a little less. We should get 3 starts out of Carrasco, and we should get 3 starts out of Tyler McGill, depending on his injury status, if he's okay after his start tomorrow. The Mets need to do everything in their power to win those 6 ball games right there, because it's a toss-up with the rest of this rotation right now. Taijuan Walker, I mean, nothing more needs to be said about him. He's somewhat grinded out some of these last few starts, even without his best stuff. But let's be real, he's not a great MLB starter. He can give you a chance to win, but he's not great. I won't go into more detail. Chris Bassitt's been struggling. Trevor Williams has been a nice surprise, but again, I'm just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. How long will that last? So it's crucial the Mets are able to take as many wins as they can from McGill and from Carrasco's starts, and the rest is gravy from there.
It's just holding down the fort until you can get these two guys in their 30s who are two of the greatest pitchers of all time back into that staff. Obviously, with Jacob deGrom, there can be a lot of obstacles. We've seen a lot of obstacles this past year where he comes back, he's fine, and then 3 innings, he's out of here. Like we've talked about, like we want him to stay here and stay healthy. Obviously, he's going to be opting out after this season, so it's going to be a big, can he stay healthy and can he be here for an entire half of the season without getting hurt? And obviously, I know the Mets want to bring him back because he's Jacob deGrom. He's kind of like that only exception, but we need deGrom and we need Scherzer back. We're already getting McGill back, who's basically deGrom and Scherzer if they had a baby. So Tyler McGill is a god, so we should be fine, right? I don't know is Trout playing?
We still don't know. He's missed the last 3 with the hand, so they don't know what the hell they're doing with him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know Shohei's healthy.
And we're not going to get him on the mound. So
they lost that guy who was going nuts, right? Taylor Ward. They lost him.
They lost Ward too. Damn. I know their bullpen has done.
I know Rendon and Fletcher are out.
Oh, I know Rendon is hurt. Yeah, I know Rendon's hurt. I know their bullpen has done a great Philly impression the last week and a half. They have blown some unbelievable games. How they've blown. They have blown games, including Aaron Loop. So just again, why you don't pay relievers multiple years? Look what happened to the Angels pen. All those guys who they gave
talk about not paying
to?
Relievers multiple years. You want to talk about that? How about the other guy on that team, Raciel Iglesias?
That was not a good choice.
What happened?
All those guys were, and look what happened.
Let's go to Theo's question here in the chat. I can't click on it right now. It's a good question. I just wrote an article today that will be on Empire Sports Media. If you guys are just joining now, we just began our partnership with Empire Sports Media. Great website for all things New York sports. They also do some MMA, golf, all that stuff. So check it out. But all of our content will be featured on there. So just wrote an article today about a starting pitcher, a hitter, and a reliever that the Mets could target at the deadline. I'm not saying that they would get all 3 or they will get each type of player, but the Mets obviously have a lot of injuries and could use the depth, so I tried to give you an option for each. But tell me, what do you two think would be your, any deadline player within realistic terms to add to this team?
I have to say, as my top guy, he may not fit into. God, it's kind of hard, but he may not fit into this lineup. Little bit more of an all or nothing guy. I mean, we've talked about him before, but they do need an extra power bat in there. It's got to be CJ Cron. You have to at least see what you can get for him. I know they just extended him, but let's be real for a second. It's the Rockies. They're going to do something really stupid with him, and he might be traded. It's possible. 32 years old, so he's there short term. If you can pick up the end of that contract, he's kind of making in the same ballpark of kind of what Eduardo Escobar, a little bit of maybe a little bit less. So 7.3 million AAV. So that's around the Escobar type of thing. They do need an extra power bat in there, but we've seen that this offense can sustain with this type of lineup. But if you add an extra bat here, I mean, that's where you can set yourself over the top. It's to be honest, I don't think we even need pitching. I mean, Jake and Max, it's like a deadline addition, right? People that say that are so annoying. I can't stand that. But other than that, I mean, I'd say CJ Cron is my offensive guy. I haven't really been looking at pitching so much because I've been kind of relying on the guys that we have so far. And I like some of the guys we have in-house, but CJ Cron, he's got to be the number 1 guy for me right now. Rhino, go.
All right. Let's see if I don't take a half hour here. if you watch this last video, and if you watch this video, I bring his name up every time. And this is more an implication of, let's say, Buck continues to use Diaz in the bigger spot, not in the 9th inning. Let's say like he did with the Dodgers, he goes in the 8th. I want another guy with the closer experience that's done it this year and has the experience that you trust a little more. I am screaming and it's the Pirates. If David Bednar is available, I'm jumping on that ship right now. Again, he's been the lone bright spot of the couple of Pirates wins. Go watch this guy pitch. Like, it is like, I don't watch the Pirates, but I gotta watch Quick Pitch in the morning. And every time this guy's on the mound in the 9th inning, he's dropping F-bombs in post-game interviews. I'm all for it. And he's the type of guy an extra good arm I want in the bullpen. And I'm at the approach, kind of the Braves approach with the bats at the deadline. Like, yeah, it'd be cool to add a JD Martinez, or it'd be cool if, for some reason, which again could possibly as a Rafi Devers, which is not happening. But like, I wouldn't mind bringing more flexibility, positional flexibility with guys like Kike Hernandez, guys like Brad Miller, that kind of platoon option guys who can play a bunch of positions. Look right now, the bench right now. You really ain't got no positional flexibility on this bench. And to be able to bring Kike Hernandez with the postseason experience, Brad Miller kills righties. I know he isn't having the greatest season with the Texas Rangers. But for me, I would rather go that kind of caliber like the Braves did with Jock and Soler and Eddie Rosario, like those kind of guys to supplement this lineup. If you can get a JD at a good price, not giving up Ronnie Mauricio for a 30-plus-year-old DH who brings you no value for a half a season, don't do that. But if you get him at a good deal, obviously a JD Martinez is the early fan love interest. I check in on Wilson Contreras if what the price there is, because if McCann continues to suck and at least trade the offense for the defense, and having Nito as your backup catcher, fine. You can have your platoon that way defensively, but offensively, actually getting something from the catching position. But for me, I am more going at arms, but go big. I'd go big game hunting arm wise, supplement this lineup with quantity over quality offensively.
I am the opposite as you, Andrew. I'm going big game hunting for bats as opposed to the arms. I think Scherzer, DeGrom going to get back at healthy, McGill as well. I think that the bullpen, they'll just, you don't need to really make the big splashes. You got to sprinkle in a couple, potential ones. I don't want to give too much away from this little article I wrote, and I'm not even like totally sure on it, but I think Andrew Benintendi could be a really nice fit on this team. And I mean, I know we already have a guy like Nimmo and Canna and Marte, all high on base percentage guys. Yeah. But when is the annual Nimmo injury going to happen? I'm surprised we didn't get it already when he got hit on the hand the other day. We just saw Marte hurt his hamstring or his quad, whatever it was. And then obviously Mark Canna, great player, but again, who knows? Anything could happen injury wise. We're just not the same outfield when we have Travis Jankowski or Nick Plummer out there. I think it's more of a surplus to have a guy like Benintendi, but the slash line's great. OBP up over 370, high batting average for those that care. And let's not forget postseason experience. Dude's won a World Series. I mean, push comes to shove. Yeah, somehow the Mets make it to the NLCS. What if Brandon Nimmo pulls his hamstring on his way down to first base? Do you feel comfortable putting Nick Plummer or Travis Jankowski in there? Would you rather have a guy like Andrew Benintendi, who's going to be a free agent after next year, so only kind of helps in the Mets' potential conversations with Nimmo going into this offseason? Not to say I'd choose Benintendi over Nimmo, but it is something to be wary of. So he's an interesting name to me for sure.
I like the idea of the Benintendi. I do like the idea of adding an outfielder. Again, if I'm comparing the Pirates, Hello Reynolds and Bednar trade. That would be, if I'm going big game outfield hunting, I think I would try to do that over a Benintendi, because I think Benintendi's going to be very expensive, because one, teams are already lining up to try to trade, because that's the early pregame. You look at the guys like the Yankees who desperately need outfielders. He is on the top of their list. So you're going to get into a bidding war for a guy who I've always liked, but I don't think he is. As I understand the depth, and I think definitely adding some depth in the outfield, the deadline would be a big, like Tony said, like a Nimmo. If Nimmo were to go down in the postseason, I think it's very important to add an outfielder. I just don't think it needs to be upper echelon outfield. I think you can add an outfield 100%. But I think if you're going to add the bat, I think it's more of like Al Carson said with a CJ Crone. I think they want to add a big bat for the DH position. If you want to add an outfield, I'm all for it. To add a quality above average center fielder, extra utility outfield, I'm all for it. I just think if they're going to go big bat hunting, I think it'll be more for the DH. But I am all for adding another high quality fourth outfielder, 3A outfielder. Like I'd be all for it. I just think if the Mets were going to spend big assets, I think it'll be DH bat wise. I think they'll add some depth to fill out the bench, yes. But I think big bat, I think they're going to focus more for the DH than getting a higher quality outfielder. But I'm all for it.
I fully agree with that. And I prefer them to do exactly what you're saying. Go out and get that guy that's like a 35 home run per season kind of guy over a guy like Benintendi, who's like going to play a lot, but is more insurance than anything. But who, other than CJ Crone, who I did write about, and I actually thought that's an interesting idea. I'm a little scared about his home and road splits and just his whole journey to getting to where he is right now. Who else is really out there that fits that profile that will realistically be traded at this deadline? I really can't think of many guys. There's like, where's that in years past Nelson Cruz, or that in years past, Cespedes isn't really a great example because he was an all-around player at that time, but
Jay Bruce was there.
A Jay Bruce for lack of a better name. But yeah, like I can't think of many other guys.
Yeah. I can throw some at you, some like of the bottom feeder teams, like a Trey Mancini could potentially be available with Baltimore, maybe a Ryan Mountcastle, Josh Bell, but the Nationals hate the Mets, so
the Nationals are not giving that to us. Yeah,
and you can cross out Nelson Cruz himself because the Nationals just hate us for some reason. I mean, how the Tigers have been, maybe Austin Meadows could be a guy potentially available. Maybe they flip him off because again, they thought he would come over and be a playoff caliber team. That has not worked out. And I keep in this weird thing in my head as a semi-Mariners fan. I am keeping somewhat a pulse of Seattle. If they keep falling, I think Jesse Winker could be flipped too. Because they have got so much young outfield depth and outfield prospects. Winker and is being a free agent next year. Winker could be, if they continue to underachieve and get out of the playoff race by the deadline, Winker could be available. And I know obviously J-Rod's balling. They have Kyle Lewis. Taylor Trammell's actually finally decided to ever hit in the big league like his top prospect status. And then they're missing Kyle Lewis, who obviously just got back from injury. And they have plenty of more outfielders coming. So, yeah, the Winker ad was supposed to be for them to go out and try to make a playoff run. And they haven't done it. And he really hasn't had a great season himself, unless he's playing the Mets, of course. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe in July if they continue to fall out of it if Winker's available. The Reds don't really have nothing. I'm just looking at other potential teams who could be trading.
Wait a second. Hold on. The Reds do have one guy. I don't know. This is a stretch, and don't think that I'm saying I wouldn't go for this. I'm saying I might. I got to think about it more. But would you be willing to take on the $25 million that Joey Votto is owed next season? I know he's having a bad year. I know he's getting older. He still has a high on-base percentage. He's not hitting for power or average, but still can bring great defense to first, which at this point, it's been J.D. Davis filling in for Pete Alonso, so it's kind of a need again. Yeah. And if in that situation the Mets are willing to take on that contract, they get back a Tyler Mahle, a guy like that, or one of their better relievers. Is that something?
The criteria for that at this point is Joey. The criteria that would convince us to say, yeah, let's take on Joey Votto is
what you're getting.
He's better than Dom Smith. He's better than Dom Smith. That's literally what you can say. Like, he's better than Dom, right?
I mean, he hit 36 homers last year. I know he's having a rough year.
He was fantastic last year. Yeah.
I mean, the OBP is up at 337. He's been better of late. I know the numbers aren't pretty. I know he's older. I know he's owed a lot of money. And I don't want a repeat of the Cano situation, but we're only talking about next season of owing him money. And we have a lot of contracts coming off the books after this season as well. So, I mean, if it meant getting a guy like Tyler Mahle, or if it meant getting one of their better relievers, I'd have to look at some of the names. It's obviously not going to land you Luis Castillo, but I mean, a Mahle and Votto thing where you're not giving up a huge prospect, it's somewhat interesting.
How about Baby Sugar? one of their reliever, Baby
Oh,
Sugar.
God.
You want another
Oh.
Diaz?
I can't handle two
No, you
Diaz's
can't?
on this
Alright,
team.
alright.
I can't.
But
do that.
bringing that up, Steve has already blatantly said, "Oh yeah, I'll take bad contracts on if we lowers the price to get players." So that's not like crazy to think. Like he's already said it. Like I don't care what it costs. If we're going to get a big asset, an asset we want back,
Yeah.
we got to attach it to.
If you don't care what it
brand
costs,
perception.
I mean,
yeah.
If you don't care what it costs, there's a point where you maybe can model it after what the Braves did last year at the deadline, where they brought in a quantity over quality, but also somewhat quality for them. Eddie Rosario, God, but Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall. I mean, these guys they added at the deadline. And it kind of, pushed them over the hump, kind of like, when we got Juan Uribe and when we got Kelly Johnson and a few of those guys who are role players, but they can get you over the hump. They have that experience. They are veterans. There's a few models that you can go after here. Again, like Tony said, there's not many bats that are like that main guy who's like, oh, he's definitely getting traded. He's definitely getting dealt. Like I'd say like the only player that I off the top of my head that is probably going to get traded because he's been talked about forever is Luis Castillo. He can't swing a bat, so that you're kind of obviously I'd take Luis Castillo. The man's amazing, but like
It's
when
funny,
you're looking
dude.
at bats, like you're gonna have to be creative.
It's funny because we're literally talking about what is it, the best offense in baseball, right? Haven't the Mets scored the most runs in baseball?
Runs and batting average.
Average. I mean, and
we want more, Tony.
Yeah,
We want more.
I know. But it's because like there's definitely like a need for that big home run bat, and because we have faith and some belief that there's going to be the return of Scherzer and DeGrom and McGill very soon. But yeah, no, as we pointed out earlier, I think Mets starters ERA has been like 5.28 since Scherzer left with injury. So, I do think there is a need for that, but I'm looking more at like a Trevor Williams type of addition like they did last year when they added him along with the Baez trade. I'm looking at the bigger bat, and if you could get that pitcher like him that gives you some more depth, then great. But it's fluid because who knows? We might wake up tomorrow and find out that Jacob DeGrom had a setback, or Scherzer had a setback, or Tyler McGill's bicep exploded. I don't know. I'm knocking on wood, but I think this is what a good team does, just like the Braves did last year. You add a bunch of little pieces and you hope that they all combine to make you a better team in total. So maybe that is the way to go.
I don't see them adding anything that's going to be like, oh, we're keeping this guy long term. I think it's just going to be that guy who helps them take them to a postseason. It's going to be a rental. It absolutely is going to be a rental. And I'm excited to see what they actually do with it. And we'll obviously talk about that as the trade deadline gets closer and closer. It's August 1st now?
Second.
It's like
second.
Second now. So they're pushing it because of the lockout. But yeah, I think if we're talking about bats, again, like I said, CJ Cron, he doesn't strike out. He walks a lot. He hits dongs. I'll take that in this lineup. I don't know if he fits in this taking 10 pitch, 12 pitch at bats like most of this lineup, but I mean, they kind of need somebody to be that all or nothing.
Well, he does something. Yeah. He does hit lefties. He has good career numbers at Citi Field. Small sample size, but I think it was like 40 at bats, a couple dingers there. But dude, the splits between Coors Field and the road are pretty stark. And just to give you some reference here, in his last 18 games, he's hitting 188 with a 260 on base percentage. His batting average went from 331 down to 286 in the last 18 games. So don't know if you care about batting average. I do. I'm sure if you look at his other statistics, though, that his batting average dropping 50 points is indicative of a lot of other things dropping as well. That's just the first stat I saw.
Oh, there's so many jokes I'm not going to make, but now that we're sponsored, but
puberty joke. Okay.
Can I say the stupid thing I've been trying to say?
Getting nothing in return. What'd you say? You don't
Can I
need to
say
get
my-
a bat?
We don't need to get the big power bat because the big power bat is sitting down in Binghamton right now. That's the bat you need at the post deadline. Just call him up.
Ain't happening.
Who?
Ain't happening.
He's
Francisco
back to
Alvarez.
the Sotoing AA. After a 2-week stretch where he couldn't hit a beach ball, now he's hitting 475 the last 2 weeks. And he's hitting homers further and further out of that ballpark.
All
Well,
I can say is it possible that we can trade Desmond Lindsay
Facts.
for CJ Cron with how inept the Rockies are? Is it possible?
I mean, most
I didn't even
likely,
know
yeah.
Lindsay was still in the organization. Oh my god.
Is he? I don't even know.
Probably
He's
not.
not. He's
I haven't
just
heard his name in
amazing.
4 years.
He's always the throw-in. So
Metro, what were you gonna say?
Let me ask you, if Francisco Alvarez was an outfielder, do you think that he'd
Well, he'd be up there.
get called
He
up
would-
at some
he-
point in the next 3 months?
If he played any other position, the way he's mashing, he would be up here. I can confidently say by July 31st, if he keeps hitting this way and he played any other position, he would have been up here.
But do you think that just because of the numbers that we see, or do you actually like study his at-bats approach and believe that he's major league ready? Because, two totally different things. I know
Of
this is an
course.
honest question for you.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I would love to see him in Syracuse. I'd love to see him what he does in AAA. I don't know what more he can do in Binghamton. I know obviously why they're keeping him down to get the catching defensive reps, but I don't know why they just can't get him up to AAA and see what happens. Because I get it. They want to be the full-on range to bring the defense up. He's Salvador Perez. That's what he is. He's not going to be great defensively. You're not paying him to be great defensively. He's going to hit fat nukes, and we are going to love him, and that's why. That's all we need him to do is hit 30 homers. Hell, maybe 40. Who knows? But that's what we're paying him to do. I don't know why they are so hesitant to not just get him up to AAA. There's nobody in front of him. And I understand they want to keep the defense, they want to see him continue to improve to at least average to potentially maybe above average defensively. But the fact that he just continues, like he had that 2-week stretch where he got real cold, but then he's right back to doing what he was doing the first month of the season, where you can't throw this guy anything in the strike zone, or he's hitting it 470 over scoreboards, and visiting announcers are like, holy Jesus, that ball is gone. That's what he's doing.
they make some. All of his home runs are horrible calls, by the way, by these minor league announcers, because they're either amazed by how far this guy hits the damn ball or how hard he hits it, or they're just terrible at their job. Like that's literally like what you're saying. But
You
like,
get the middle.
because we've seen a bunch of minor league baseball this year, so it's like, it's crazy.
So, and I get it. You don't want to rush the kid. You don't want to Kelnick this kid. Of course, I'm not saying to Kelnick this kid, but I'm not even saying he needs to catch when he gets up here. I'm saying if you can't go out and get a DH at the deadline, and this is inferring, again, calling him up after the deadline, so you could give him the time to get to AAA and give him a couple months in AAA. If you can't get a JD Davis, why do I keep saying JD Davis? JD Martinez, a CJ Cron, that level of bat, why not save the assets that you would trade for those kind of guys? Go and invest even more in the pitching and bullpen because, of course, you know what wins in the postseason is going to be pitching. And if you're saying, go out and get a top flight reliever, go out and get another top flight pitcher in the rotation just to scare the league, the rest of the league saying they got DeGrom, they got Scherzer, and they went and got this guy, kind of like what the Dodgers did. They didn't need Max Scherzer last year, but yet they still got him. That's the point where I wouldn't mind saving those assets that you would trade for a bat. And this is all inferring to if Alvarez continues to hit the way he does. That I'm just saying, hey, if August 5th hits and we don't get a bat and he's maybe got called to AAA and he continues to Juan Soto AAA, don't have him catch. Just make him the DH. And then let him go in the offseason, get back to catching, and let him be around Nito and McCann, whatever. But let him just hit. So don't put anything in his head. Be like, hey, you are here to hit. We don't have to worry about catch. We'll worry about in spring training in the offseason to get you back better defensively. Right now, all we need you to do is hit. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he needs to be right now, call him up, everyday catcher. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you want to go cheap, if you want to save assets to trade for a DH, just tell the kid to hit. And that's the one thing he can do is hit. That's what I'm saying. Don't put him on the plate. Just let him hit. and let's see him succeed that way. And then once we hit spring training next year, give him the catching job. Let him, Furlong, you're the catcher. Move McCann or do it whatever the hell they're going to do with McCann. If you want to get maybe a veteran catcher to put next to him, you could do that. Nito can be here if you want to keep Nito as the backup, and then let him be the catcher and let him improve defensively. That's all I'm saying with Alvarez.
If you're trying to add a bat, right? I mean, what about Mark Vientos?
That's the other one. Yeah, that's the more likely of the guys, but he's hurt right now. He's on the IL, so you're not going to see him for another week or two. So
Hawk Dog. I mean, he's not really a prospect. So
he's not a prospect. I mean, he's hit 30 homers in the big leagues before. I mean, it's a cheap power option if you don't want to spend. But again,
I don't think they're going to cheap out though. So
yeah, that's the other thing. I don't expect that, but
it's it's become so nonchalant of them, going over that fourth tax and everything. So they're probably going to do it. And if they don't, they're going to do something, shall we say, like that. It's going to be something that like lifts them above, at least compared to the National League East. But other than that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We'll probably go a little bit longer next week because the four of us will be here and there'll be a little bit more of an opinion being floated around. Guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel that you're watching this on right now. Put on those post notifications because there is daily content going up on this channel right now with me and Andrew. So we've been going back and forth doing a lot of different types of topics. And then we'll obviously be live here every Thursday discussing everything in the week and getting a bunch of opinions from the chat. So other than that, I'll let you guys, have any closing remarks. But other than that, I think we'll end it here. Tony?
Closing remarks. Let's go Mets. I hope they win when I go on Saturday in Anaheim. They're 2-0 while I've been in attendance so far this year, including the Nick Plummer game tying home run and then the Escobar walk-off. And other than that, I just wish the worst, most terrible things on the Milwaukee Brewers and Colorado Rockies franchises for completely laying down for the Phillies and Braves this week. So.
All right. Andrew, last things you want to say?
So the Mets are 2-0 with Tony in the building. The Mets are 2-0 as well with me in the building. So Mets Weekly members are undefeated when they go to see the New York Mets. But like I said, me and Mets fan will be doing the everyday content, giving you guys videos out on this channel. Again, post games will probably come back on my channel back when the Mets get home. So enough of these games ending at 1 a.m. It's great. Once the Mets get back to 7-10 starts, we'll do some post games next week. And second channel, probably going to start getting some hockey off-season stuff. Maybe starting a podcast on the second channel, Elite Rhino Sports. That will probably start getting out maybe in the next couple weeks. Obviously, once the Stanley Cup, not the just Cup finals, are over with, the content will flow a lot better on the second channel.
All right. Well, for other sports, go Rangers right now. They're playing Game 5. Let's go. They have to win tonight, so crossing my fingers. But other than that, guys, let's go Mets. We're hanging in there, guys. We got to get healthy. That's pretty much all it's got to happen. We got to get healthy, and then it'll be all gumdrops and rainbows until then. But other than that, guys, absolutely. Angels tomorrow, and that finishes off the West Coast trip, I think. But other than that, guys, we'll see you guys next week live, and every day, content here every time. So let's go Mets, and we'll see you guys next time.